Hi grade 10 to 12. Today I'll explain a concept that most learners struggle with, which is how do you find your domain and range when it comes to functions. I'll use this parabola as an example, but the same concepts apply for all other types of functions. So let's get to it. When they ask you to find the domain, they are simply asking you to identify the values of x where your graph is defined. If we look at this graph, we can see that there's an arrow here. So that's telling us that our x values on this side continue up until negative infinity. The same applies on the other side. It's simply telling us that our x values continue up until positive infinity. Since we can see that this graph is defined for all values of x, the domain in set notation is simply x. X is an element of real numbers because this graph is defined for all real numbers, whether they are positive or negative. So that's the domain for the graph. When looking at the range, you do the same thing but for the y values. When looking at our graph, we can see that it has a maximum y value of positive 3. So our y values are defined from 3 going down. So the range of our graph are all the values starting from negative infinity all the way to positive 3. Or another way you can write this is y is less than or equals to 3. And you also specify that y is an element of real numbers, but we know that it's all real numbers starting from negative infinity up until positive 3.